What could possibly go wrong in your project? Well, the answer is a lot, but how do you prepare for these uncertainties? You see, risk management in project management is the key to this conundrum. It's like a safety net, catching potential threats and turning them into opportunities. It's not about being pessimistic, but rather about being realistic and proactive. It involves identifying what could go wrong, assessing how it could impact your project, prioritizing these risks, and creating strategies to mitigate them. You wouldn't embark on a journey without a map, would you? Similarly, you shouldn't embark on a project without a risk management plan. It's your map through the unpredictable terrain of project execution. It helps ensure that you're not caught off guard, and if things do go sideways, you're prepared to handle it. Remember, risk management is not about predicting the future, but about preparing for it. The first step in risk management is identifying what can go wrong. Now, that might seem a bit pessimistic, but in the world of project management, it's all about being prepared. First up, we have the creation of a risk register. Think of it as a comprehensive list, a catalogue if you will, of all the potential risks that could impact your project. It's a living document that includes both threats and opportunities. It's a way to keep everything in one place, a way to keep things organized. Next, we've got brainstorming with project stakeholders. This is where you gather the troops, the people who are invested in the project's success, and you start tossing around ideas. You're trying to identify all possible risks related to project scope, schedule, resources, technology, and external factors. This is your chance to get a bit creative, to think outside the box. After all, 2 heads are better than 1, and many heads are even better. Then there's the use of checklists. Now, this might seem a bit old school, but it's a proven method for identifying risks. You can refer to historical data, lessons learned from past projects, or even industry-standard risk lists. These checklists are a great way to ensure you're not overlooking common risks that could sneak up on you. So, why do we go through all this trouble to identify risks? Well, it's simple. A comprehensive list of potential risks is your first line of defense in risk management. It's your roadmap, guiding you on what to prepare for, what to avoid, and what to embrace. It's about knowing what could go wrong, so you can make sure it goes right. And here's something to keep in mind. This process isn't a one-and-done deal. It's something you should revisit throughout the life of your project because, as we all know, things change, new risks emerge, and old risks may fade away. Remember, a risk not identified is a risk unmanaged. And in project management, we're all about managing those risks. So roll up your sleeves, gather your team, and start identifying those risks. Your project will thank you for it. Now that we have a list of potential risks, how do we understand their potential impact? Well, here's where the risk assessment phase comes into play. It's about evaluating the potential effects of each identified risk on our project. This process can be both qualitative and quantitative, allowing us to understand the scale and nature of each risk. Let's start with qualitative risk assessment. This involves a subjective evaluation of the likelihood and impact of each risk. We might ask ourselves, how probable is it that this risk will occur? Or, if this risk does occur, how severe would its impact be? We could use a simple high, medium, or low scale, or develop more detailed criteria. This process helps us to visualize the risk landscape and to understand where the greatest threats and opportunities lie. On the other hand, quantitative risk assessment takes a more objective approach. It involves using numerical data and statistical methods to understand the potential impact of each risk on our project objectives. For example, we might perform a cost-risk analysis to understand how a particular risk could affect our project budget, or a schedule risk analysis to see how it could impact our timeline. This approach can provide us with a more precise understanding of each risk's potential impact. Once we've assessed our risks, the next step is risk prioritization. This is where we rank the risks based on their combined likelihood and impact scores. The goal is to focus our attention and resources on the most significant threats or opportunities. We might ask, which risks are most likely to occur and have the greatest potential impact? Or, which opportunities could provide the greatest benefit if we can capitalize on them? By prioritizing our risks in this way, we can ensure that we're focusing our efforts where they can have the greatest effect. Assessing risks allows us to focus our resources where they're most needed. After all, effective risk management is all about being proactive and making informed decisions to navigate the uncertainties of our project journey. We've identified and assessed our risks. Now, what can we do about them? Well, this is where risk response planning comes into play. It's the process of deciding how to approach, plan for, and execute actions to address potential risks. The goal is to reduce the impact of negative risks and enhance the opportunities from positive risks. Firstly, we have risk mitigation. This is where we develop strategies to decrease the likelihood or impact of a risk. Think of it like a health checkup. The doctor identifies potential issues and advises you on healthy habits to prevent them from escalating. In project terms, it could involve improving processes, implementing preventive measures, or enhancing controls. Next, we have risk transfer. Now, this isn't about passing the buck. It's a strategic move to shift the risk exposure to external parties. This could be through contractual agreements, insurance policies, or outsourcing arrangements. It's like having a safety net. If a trapeze artist falls, they're caught, minimizing the damage. Then we come to risk acceptance. This is when the potential impact of a risk is within acceptable thresholds, or the cost or impracticality of mitigation outweighs the potential impact. It's like choosing to walk in the rain without an umbrella because you're only going a short distance. Finally, there's risk avoidance. This involves modifying the project plans, objectives, or scope to eliminate or minimize exposure to high-risk activities, technologies, or stakeholders. It's like changing your walking route to avoid a construction site. It might take a bit longer, but you avoid the risk of falling debris. In all these strategies, it's crucial to remember that one size doesn't fit all. Each project is unique, and so are its risks. The response should be tailored to the specific risk, considering its potential impact and the project's overall objectives. Remember, risk management is not about eliminating all risks. It's about understanding them, planning for them, and managing them effectively. By doing so, we can turn potential obstacles into stepping stones for success. Proactive planning is key to managing risks effectively. Even the best-laid plans can go awry, so what's our plan B? This is where contingency planning comes into play. It's the art of preparing for the unexpected, and it plays a pivotal role in risk management. Contingency plans are essentially your plan B. They're alternative courses of action or fallback strategies that we put in place if our primary risk responses prove ineffective or insufficient. Think of them as your safety net, there to catch your project if it starts to fall. Now, let's talk about contingency reserves. These are allocations of time, budget, or resources set aside specifically to address unforeseen risks and their impacts. They provide a buffer, ensuring your project can withstand unexpected bumps in the road. It's about building resilience and flexibility into your project, so it can bend without breaking. Fallback plans are another crucial part of contingency planning. There are backup plans, designed to mitigate the effects of adverse events or disruptions to project activities. If a risk becomes a reality and our initial response isn't enough, the fallback plan is there to lessen the blow and keep the project moving forward. So while we can't predict the future with absolute certainty, contingency planning allows us to prepare for it as best we can. It's about expecting the unexpected and having a strategy in place to handle it. After all, it's better to have a plan and not need it than to need a plan and not have it. Contingency planning ensures our project remains resilient and flexible in the face of uncertainties. Risk management is not a one-and-done task. It's an ongoing process. As we delve into risk monitoring and control, we see it's all about staying vigilant, keeping an eye on the horizon for any potential storms that could disrupt our project's smooth sailing. Risk reviews form an integral part of this process. Regularly updating the risk register ensures that we're on top of any changes in risk exposure, the status of our mitigation efforts, and any new risks that might have cropped up. It's like a regular health checkup for our project, keeping it fit and ready to tackle any obstacles that come its way. Then we have risk reporting, a critical channel of communication with project stakeholders. Status reports, dashboards, meetings, they all serve to highlight key risks, trends, and mitigation efforts. It's all about keeping everyone informed and on the same page, ensuring transparency and collective understanding. Now let's talk about risk triggers. These are predefined thresholds or indicators that signal a need for immediate action. Think of them as alarm bells that ring loud and clear when risk conditions change, prompting us to escalate our response. And finally, we come to the importance of lessons learned. Capturing and documenting insights, successes, and failures related to risk management throughout the project lifecycle is invaluable. It's these lessons that enable continuous improvement, helping us to avoid past mistakes and build on our successes. Effective risk management requires continuous monitoring and control. And that, my friends, is the essence of risk monitoring and control.